Hey, this is just a little bit of a heads up. Hi, I'm announcer of games. So Custodes and a lot of other 40k armies don't have very many animations or trailers that I can use to make an intro that's not just, uploading what most of the trailer is. So if you were hoping for a sick, awesome, bombastic trailer like what the other armies got, you're not gonna get it. I apologize ahead of advance, cause if GW doesn't care, why the fuck should I? Okay, let's get into the video now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Warhammer 40k, a universe so dark that you could sit on your ass and do nothing while the galaxy burns and only getting shit for it when your boss's son kicks you in the ass. Last time we looked at armies, it was the Green Tide itself, rocking our collective brains with their numbers and sheer amount of dagger. But now we move in the complete opposite direction of quantity over quality, to the army of just pure quality. The Adeptus Custodes, the Emperor's own bodyguards, now march with their fellow Imperials throughout the galaxy to stem the tide as best they can, while still being self-righteous assholes about it. Let's get into the lore. The Custodes' history is entirely linked to the Space Marine project that the Emperor himself was working on. A single Custodian is so advanced and so powerful as an individual that one Custodes equals a squad of Space Marines with no effort. However, the problem with the Custodes is that their creation is much more complex, dangerous, and time-consuming than that of the Space Marines, leading to their numbers being way smaller. But this group of warriors would find purpose, not the forefront of war, but at the Emperor's side, being his personal golden retinue. They still fought the Emperor's wars, though, their skills honed through years of training against all forms of warfare, as well as hosting a test amongst their ranks called the Blood Games, a test to see if an individual or squad of Custodes can assassinate the Emperor while the rest of their kin attempt to stop them. This is to see if there are blind spots within their defensive perimeters, and to train themselves to be ready for anything. Though, for the Custodes, their ultimate failure would come during the Horus Heresy. The Emperor would be mortally wounded and placed upon the Golden Throne to preserve him as best it could. The Custodes would lock themselves inside the Imperial Palace in shame, forever sentinel over their lord's unmoving corpse. This would be their history for over 10,000 years, rarely coming out to see the state of the Imperium. Their only notable efforts in this time were to stop a Harlequin invasion of the throne room and convince the first leader of the soon-to-be Sisters of Battle that her master was a false heretic and should be put down. Then, the Custodes found themselves fully recovered in numbers like in the day of the Great Crusade, and with the return of Gullymen, and with Chaos's repeated victories, the Custodes left the safety of the Imperial Palace and conduct war with the returned Sisters of Silence. They fought and continue to fight against the enemies of the Emperor both at home and abroad. For a protector must not only be reactive, but proactive in their defense. Let's get into the army.
Get bikes!
No, I don't need bikes.
Not taking bikes is a mistake!
If you are coming for big, bombastic, and lots of models on the table, you have come to the wrong place. The Custodes army is one of, if not the most elite army in all of 40k, being described as, what if we took Space Marines and made them better Space Marines? The Custodes are the quality army. You pay big points for small units that will outdo any other unit in Warhammer. The Custodes army ability, known as the Martial Kata, lets your army choose a close combat stance once per turn. You can choose one of the three stances to either make it harder to hit your guys in close combat, give them extra attacks in close combat, or for them to be automatically able to wound their targets on hit rolls of 6s in close combat. Custodes want to be in melee and have every means to get there. They are tough, hard to break through, and hit way harder than any other army. The very models this army is named after come in extremely small units that cost a lot to field on the table. A single full squad of Custodes is more expensive than other armies' elite units, and these guys are your standard infantry. Universally, Custodes are characterized as being extremely tough and well armored, and hit extremely hard in close combat. Your save with the Golden Boys never goes below 2+, and your invulnerable save will always be a 4+. This means that a single Custodian will shrug off some of the worst fire a lot of armies can throw at them while they close the distance, or will hold an objective and be extremely frustrating targets to push off. Should a unit of Custodes get into melee, your opponent usually considers the unit they're fighting to be done for. Your melee deletes units easily, and with martial stances, you aren't losing any melee engagement unless you engage an army's big boy like a Primarch or Titan. But even then, a Custodes unit will leave that super unit extremely hurt and unlikely to survive another charge. Your Custodes have always been vulnerable to Psykers and other armies, as the Custodes themselves lack any psychic potential. But this is where the Sisters of Silence come in, being extremely deadly to any psychic army or unit in the game. The Sisters units may not be as tough or dangerous as their Custodian counterparts, but that's not their job. They are there to hunt down any Psykers stupid enough to show themselves on the field. They get massive bonuses to hurt anyone with the Psyker keyword, and with recent updates to 40k, if they roll a 6 to wound, those poor nerds won't be able to save any damage that the Sisters do to them, whether it be in shooting or melee. But there is a massive downside to Sisters, and it's pretty obvious. They are way too specialized in one way, and you will never take melee Sisters over their ranged counterparts, because Custodes already do that job way better. As well, your Sisters units are way softer to anything that isn't psychics. It's still useful to bring 1 or 2 units to either hold objectives for your Custodes or hunt down Psykers, but not much else, sadly.
I hadn't realized you were awake, Santodes.
My master awakened me!
Your vehicle list leaves something to be desired. Your army recycles 3 vehicles from the Space Marine faction, and even though your Dreadnought and Land Raider are way better than the Space Marine versions, they are far more expensive and not always worth taking. Not to mention, the Rhino Transport can only take Sisters of Silence. If you want effective fighting vehicles, you'll have to look at Forge World for these better vehicles, and well, that shit is hard on the wallet. And not only that, it's either just the Cronus Grav Carrier or a better Dreadnought than the standard Contemptor you get with Space Marines. These units are as expensive on the wallet as they are on the board, but the Forge World units are far superior to the main book vehicle units. So if you want quality vehicles, you will have to be willing to pay higher than average prices. Trajan is one step away from being a Primarch character without being a Primarch himself. The guy is the leader of the Custodes, and it shows. Taking him means that any unit he is in never has to worry about debuffs, as Trajan makes them ignore any modifiers, while also getting a strong once per game ability. Trajan, once per game, can either double his attacks, give himself a 2+ invulnerable save, which I remind you, only 2 other models in the game get, or can give his unit fights first, which may not seem like much, but can be extremely dangerous to any army wanting to pin down Trajan and his squad. The man is a beast in melee, and with recent points decreases, your boy has only gotten way better. And that's the Custodes, the most elite army in 40k, and probably the most reasonable overall to splurge into money-wise, and the best storage-wise due to the size of the army. Sure, your army shooting may leave something to be desired, you may always be outnumbered on the table, and your units may cost double than every other army's units, but you are getting the best quality of units in all of Warhammer, extremely tanky, deadly in close combat, and being the most annoying army to push off any objective you're holding. Thanks for watching, and when we come back, we will be keeping our distance, bringing in lots of mech suits, and spreading the word of the greater good. The Tau Empire. See you next time.